That's enough of that. People have always said I've been somewhat of a spacer, but don't worry, we are still earthbound at this moment in time. This, let me just explain, is one of the models that was used in BBC TV series Blake 7, and in a moment I'll be talking to visual effects designer Matt Irvine, who's created spacecraft and aliens for Doctor Who and countless other sort of programs. Now, if you'd like to know where he gets his ideas from, the lines are open. 061 814 0424. That's the number we're asking you to ring. It's the same number for any questions or comments you may have on science fiction on television in general. Do you think that there's actually life out there? Is it all pie in the sky? We'll be talking about that in more detail after 11 this morning. But first, Natalie's been looking through your more terrestrial calls. Natalie. Now, back to space matters, and so far very few of us, or any of us, have travelled beyond the stars, come into contact with alien civilizations. But you see, if and when we do, are these the sort of crafts that we'll be travelling in? Now, BBC visual effects designer Matt Irvine, who is with me now, created this and indeed all these various toys and guns and lasers and all sorts of things you see on the table for what? Programs like what? Doctor Who, Blake 7?
Most of these, Eamon, are Doctor Who and Blake 7, but they're probably the best known BBC science fiction programmes. But we've done more. And there's more.
And there's more, yes. Where do you get your inspiration from when you go to design a science fiction device?
I often wonder sometimes, it's sort of... We normally sit down with great plans. We're going to draw it all out, great sheet of clean paper, pencils, everything rather. Sit down and, you know, you have to end up going to the bar normally, or to the pub, you see.
This one lights up.
Yes,
what's this?
That's a Liberator gun. Very rare, that is. Not many of those left. Not many Liberators left either.
What was this from?
That's from Blake 7. That's what they found aboard the Liberator.
Yeah. Actually, we're just going to have a wee look now at some of Matt's models in action, and actually how weeks of painstaking work can end up in smoke in just a matter of seconds.
Well, this is one of my favourites. This comes from Doctor Who. Warrior's Gate was the story. This is the very ending. The TARDIS, you see, is luckily dematerialised. The gate of the title is just disappearing in a cloud of smoke, and the privateer, shall we say, the baddie's ship, which you can see in the smoke in the foreground, is also going to blow up as well. This was filmed, 2 cameras, at high speed, so we slowed everything down. And the same thing was used for this. This is Moonbase 3. The series, some people may not actually remember. This was a buggy, as you can see, crashing into a crater. We cheated somewhat, because it's 2 bits of crater put together. We just sort of intercut the films. Again, it's filmed at high speed. It slows the dust down, so when the buggy finally comes to rest, like that, the dust settles, hopefully realistically.
And look,
being on the moon.
This
is the actual buggy, yes. This is, I think, the first time on television since 1973.
Still got plenty of the dust on it.
It's still got the original moon dust on it. And also, as a first, the small one we used for long shots. I think the first time both appeared together. As you said, some of them do actually... I'll stick that one up there, actually. I'll roll away otherwise. Some of them do end up rather tatty, and
this is the one we saw.
This is the one you saw. This is the remains of the privateer from Warrior's Gate. As you can see, it actually did retain its shape. It's built out of metal. We put plastic panels on it, and we blew the panels off, basically. I will actually put it down, because it's rather rusty and dirty.
It's pretty heartbreaking to create it all and then have to destroy it.
You get used to it.
Yeah.
The first one was destroyed. I was sort of heartbroken over, but you get very instilled into it now.
Right, let's take a call. Henor, which is near Derby. Claire Walker's on the line from there. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning.
You a science fiction fan?
Yes, I am.
What's your favourite space programme?
I used to enjoy Blake 7 when that used to be on.
Yeah. What would you like to ask Matt?
Of all the special effects you've had to achieve, which do you find the most difficult?
Well, hello, Claire. I suppose the most difficult is the one we haven't done yet. That's the easy answer. It's not what you were asking, I suspect. I think, going back to models and miniatures like you saw there, it's actually trying to create water, miniaturised water. Water doesn't know it's meant to be miniaturised, and you have to make the items. If you're making a submarine or something like that, you have to make it extremely large to actually not know the water is actually miniaturised, and that's I think that's most difficult. That and flames. Try and make flames big as well.
Okay.
Anything on at the moment, Claire, that you enjoy watching space-wise?
Not really, no.
No.
There's not much on at the moment.
No, you see, has it gone through this phase? Because after the Star Wars films, has it really died a death?
Star Wars was the big key. I would have said 2001, A Space Odyssey was the initial key. Then there was the Star Wars and all the films that came after it. It goes in troughs and peaks.
Yeah,
we had, as I say, we had Blake 7. Doctor Who, of course, carries on going. I perhaps will cheat slightly, and I don't I'd say Doctor Who's probably more fantasy than science fiction, but we know that's always with us.
Of course, a new Star Trek movie this summer coming out. Let's go to Birmingham. Andrew Potter's there on the line. Hello, Andrew.
Hello there.
Hi, Andrew. What's your question?
How much do visual effects cost to make, and can they be dangerous to make?
Ah, are they very expensive?
Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Matt.
How much can you afford? I think it's probably the easiest question. If you talk to a producer, it's a lot of money. If you talk to us, it's not very much money at all. Obviously, if you're doing effects, it does cost more than having just me talking to you in front of a screen like this. It's very, very difficult to put a price on things, really. It is. The most dangerous ones are obviously ones that involve explosions and stunts. Stunt men and of course stunt women are their own people, but we will actually do the items, shootings or whatever that are unfortunate perhaps in these particular times, that have to go with them. So that could be the most dangerous type of thing we have to do.
Yeah, I'm fiddling around here. God, it's amazing what you come across. All these little things work and make noises and things.
Well, they always have to work, yeah.
They always have to
I don't know why.
Oh, goodness,
always got to have lights on them.
Yeah.
That one's got sound as well, yes.
I should say now, Matt is staying with us for our main edition after 11. He'll also be joined by Doctor Who, Sylvester McCoy himself, and from Star Trek, Mr. Sulu. Mr. Sulu will be here, 06181400424. Keep your calls coming. We'll be materialising after 11. Natalie's got more calls coming in. Natalie? Landed. We have landed. Hello there. Oh, don't think this agrees with me, all this space travel. Welcome back to Open Air, and since our early edition, you see, I've been on a quick spin around the galaxy to pick up some star guests for this, our science fiction special. Doctor, we've landed.
Oh, good, good, I'm glad.
Is this where you programmed okay? It all worked okay?
Yes, this is Octomocty Nechelfecken, isn't it?
Of course it is, of course it is. This is an ambition fulfilled.
It is.
Really?
Yes, good. It was mine as well when I got the job.
The whole thing's bearing up well, too. Bit of a clean wouldn't do anything.
Well, I wouldn't actually inspect it too closely.
What sort of year would this model be?
Well, that might be the year in the future, 65005.
That one?
I think it's that one, yes.
Right.
I think that's when I had a refit, but I'm not sure.
Very good, very good. I'm sure people want to know all that sort of fact. And if they phone 06181400424 this morning, you can talk to the doctor in person, or indeed, we have also got from Star Trek Mr. Sulu, who's on furlough from the Starship Enterprise, and he will be joining us live from a Star Trek conference in Liverpool. And later in the programme, we'll be looking at science fiction in general on television with astronomer Heather Couper and special effects designer Matt Irvine. And the question we'll be asking is, could science fiction become science fact, or is it all pie in the sky? Do let us know what you think. And now we will transport you to Liverpool and to Mike Shaft. Hello there, Mike.
Hello, Eamon. Yes, and a very warm welcome to the Britannia Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool, where there is a big Star Trek conference going on, and I'm down here to meet a few Star Trek fans. You are, aren't you?
We are.
You are, yes. We'll be hearing from them a little bit later on, so do stay tuned to Open Air. Back now to Bob.
Right. Over 20 years after beginning their 5-year mission, the Voyagers of Starship Enterprise continue to boldly go where no man has gone before. Unwilling to hang up their phasers and tricorders, Kirk and the crew are still exploring strange new worlds and seeking out new life and new civilizations. Well, in a moment I'll be talking to George Takei, Star Trek's Mr. Sulu. But here's a preview of Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which actually has its British television premiere tonight on BBC One. Well done, Kirk. And there he was at the helm, Mr. Sulu. Let's try and make contact with him. Holmes to Sulu. Holmes to Sulu. Come in, Sulu. Where are you? There he is there. Can you give me a status report?
Well, we're here in Liverpool at a Star Trek convention, and we're having a wild and glorious galactic time.
It sounds good. We're looking at Star Trek 3 there, George, which is on tonight on BBC One. But you've just finished making another one, Star Trek 5.
That's right. Star Trek 5 was... we completed principal photography on that in December. And it's scheduled for release in the States in June. I'm sure it'll be shortly after that here in Great Britain.
Right, it's also called The Final Frontier. Does that suggest it may actually be the last one?
Well, we kind of tease you, don't we, with that title. But actually, we've used that phrase at the beginning of every episode of Star Trek when we say, space, the final frontier. That's what it refers to. But I can assure you that that's all it refers to. It certainly won't be the last Star Trek movie.
Good, we are delighted to hear that. Right, let's go to Dewsbury. Rita Bentley's on the line there. Hello, Rita.
Morning, Eamon.
You a Star Trek fan?
Yes, I'm an avid Trekkie.
You looking forward to the search for Spock tonight?
Well, I've already seen it, sorry to say.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
Pardon?
What did you think of it?
Oh, well, this is why I want to have a word with George.
Go ahead, yeah.
George, hello.
Hello, how are
Happy May Day.
you? Thank you very much.
When I watched Star Trek 3 on video, I cried buckets of tears when the Enterprise died. And what I wanted to know was, when you read through the script, did you feel as though an old friend was dying?
Well, as a matter of fact, when we first got the script, a very strange thing happened. I was reading, and all of a sudden there was a rather disjointed jump there, and I couldn't make head or tail out of what I was reading, so I looked at the page numbering, and there were 6 pages missing. And so I promptly got on the phone with our producer, Harv Bennett, and I said, Harv, I think the girls collating the script made a mistake. I'm missing 6 pages. And then Harv said to me, well, George, that's intentional. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, we don't intend for you to have those 6 pages until much later. And I said, well, how can we prepare for a movie when there's a gap in that? There's no way an actor can prepare. But he said, no, trust me, you will understand why. And it wasn't until we were right at the point where we would begin shooting that we got those scripts. And believe me, we were all shattered to make that discovery.
There you are, Rita. I bet you never thought you would hear it right from the horse's mouth. I bet you thought you'd never speak to him.
I know.
Hey, big thrill, isn't it?
Fantastic.
It's great, isn't it? Okay, Rita, thanks very much for your call. I want to go to Pontypridd now. Robert Smith is on the line there. Hello, Robert.
Very good morning to you, Eamon.
Hi, Robert.
Good morning, George.
Good morning, Robert. How are you?
This morning?
Just great.
Great. I want to ask you, what were your feelings about Paramount Pictures' decision that you were too old to go on with the Star Trek series? The films.
Oh, no, that wasn't the reason. Although we are, I must say, we are getting a tad bit long in the tooth, aren't we?
Oh, you look well to me, George. You really do, honestly.
Well,
for a man of 62, I think you look very well.
Well preserved. It's the running. I did the London Marathon last Sunday, and I think it's that keeps us looking halfway presentable. But that's not the reason why they decided to go with a different cast and move it another century up. Bill and Leonard have indicated that they are not interested in the intense work schedule of a weekly regular television series. And they decided, well, if we're not going to have Bill and Leonard, then perhaps we ought to rethink that. And they came up with the idea of placing it 100 years ahead of us. And the success of Star Trek The Next Generation, I think, is a testimony to the concept of Star Trek, that it can survive us and be transferred to another generation and another cast.
Now, on the question of Star Trek The Next Generation, James Reynolds has phoned in from Milton Keynes. Hello, James.
Hello.
Hi, James. Have you seen it yet?
Yes, I have.
What do you think of it?
I think it's really good.
Yeah?
I really enjoy it.
Yeah?
I'd like to say, George, I'm a massive Trekkie, the entire family of Trekkies.
Well, thank you very much.
And in fact, it's a funny story, because when I was born, my dad didn't come to delivery because he wanted to, see an episode, to see the end of the episode. So I'd like to ask you, were you surprised at Star Trek? And what do you think of the Next Generation?
Was I surprised by Star Trek The Next Generation?
And do you like Star Trek The Next Generation?
Well, frankly, I must say I was concerned for it when I first heard that was the approach to the new television series version of Star Trek, because I had my reservations as to whether the chemistry that we had would translate to another cast, and I felt that perhaps it might be unfair to saddle another set of actors with the name Star Trek that would conjure up certain expectations, certain aspirations, certain images. But again, as I said before, the fact that it has been successful means that the concept of Star Trek is valid, that it can translate to another setting, another time, and another set of actors as well.
Do you think that in the 1960s, when the original Star Trek was made, George, that you were actually ahead of your time?
I did think so, and I did think that perhaps Star Trek would not survive beyond perhaps a second season, because when we began Star Trek, I smelled quality with the series. It was a show put together with a great deal of care. It had a very good cast, and certainly our creator and producer, Gene Roddenberry, was a man of vision and integrity. And television is not known for respecting those qualities. So I thought perhaps we might have a couple of years of life, and then perhaps fade away.
And look
here
what
we
happened.
are.
Now, some of the things we don't see on television. Judith Stilwell has phoned in from Colchester, and she wants to know from you, do you have, or is there such thing as a Star Trek blooper tape, an outtake tape? And if so, are there any chances of seeing it on TV?
Well, there is a Star Trek blooper tape, but it's an unofficial reel of films. These bloopers were put together for as Christmas entertainment for us at our Christmas party when we were shooting the TV series version. But they were not meant to go outside the studio walls. Somehow they did, and they've become enormously popular. But then the Screen Actors Guild found out about it, and they stepped in and they put a stop to it. So I'm afraid there won't be any future blooper reels. They feel that it's professional actors being seen in an unprofessional light, which I think is unfortunate, because I think it humanizes all of us. But there you are. The Screen Actors Guild is a trade union, isn't
Maybe
it?
we can get it on the black market or something like that. Could you tell me what you're doing at this conference, this convention in Liverpool? What goes on there?
Well, as you can hear in the background...
That question got great applause there, I see.
I'm sorry?
That question got great applause.
Yes, it did, didn't it?
What's happening there?
Well, what is happening is a congregation of about 900 Star Trek fans from all over Britain. Well, not just Britain. We have people from France, from Belgium, from Germany, and a few from the United States here as well. And we get together and share our common love and admiration for Star Trek, compare notes, and also it's a lobbying effort to get Sulu promoted to captaincy.
Maybe we'll see it in one of the movies. One final thing to ask you, George, as a big favour. Cecilia Spence from Cheltenham, who's watching this morning, has phoned in to say, I think I'm the biggest Star Trek fan ever, and it would really make her day if you would blow her a kiss.
Here we are. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper indeed, George Takei. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. What a thrill that was. Okay, Bob. Well, long before Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon, programs like Doctor Who and Star Trek had transported us far further afield. Television and films have taken us to Mars, Venus, introduced us to Daleks, Klingons, Ice Warriors, and creatures from Alpha Centauri. So what's the attraction of science fiction programs? Is there any truth in the picture that they paint? Sylvester McCoy, the time-travelling Doctor Who, is here together with astronomer Heather Couper, and Matt Irvine, who is a special effects designer, was in our early edition, has stayed on to take your calls on the fact and fiction of life beyond the stars. But first, let's journey through the changing face of science fiction on television down through the years. I know you've got a magnificent job, and I think it would be a magnificent job to be Captain Kirk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to be Dr. McCoy, really.
Matt, looking back at that was television history there, all those space programs. What were the programs that influenced you? Because you actually designed for these shows now.
Not back quite as far as that. I mean, it's interesting, Quatermass. I mean, I think that was probably the pinnacle, the original stuff that we all got interested in.
Oh, when that chewing gum hit you in the face.
Yeah.
I remember that.
All the blood coming out of the tubes. I used to hide under my bedclothes when that was
And it
on.
works far better in black and white, seemingly.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
well, the television programs work better than the films.
Well, Lost in Space is still classic. I mean, the colour in that is absolutely tremendous.
Because the first time we've actually seen them in colour.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
when they first transmitted, we still only had black and white.
As kids, indeed. Now, here's something. Here's an interesting call that has come in. Dolores Hallis, Hallis, who's phoned in from Norfolk. Dolores, I'm not sure if I'm worried about you or not, but you haven't given us exactly where you live. You've just said Norfolk. Now, the interesting thing about Dolores is this. She's phoned in to say she's actually seen flying saucers in real life, and that goes on to talk about the importance of keeping up with science fiction on television. Now, if this is the case, Dolores, we would love to hear from you, but we can't phone you back because you haven't given us your code.
Maybe she's been taken off by the flying saucer.
Maybe she is an alien.
You mean you doubt this? Dolores, ring in. We'd love to hear your story if you're still watching. Indeed, if anyone else has had a extraterrestrial experience, it'd be nice to hear from you. A lot of bunk, Heather, or what?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there must be aliens out there. It's just that they haven't visited us yet. I mean, I can't believe that our little Earth, which is a little tiny planet going around a very average star, isn't the only place where life could exist in our galaxy. I mean, after all, there are 200 billion stars in our galaxy alone. That's our star city. And then there are something like 100 billion other star cities. So you multiply all these numbers up together and you get a vast number of possible habitats for life.
Let's go to Killyleagh and see what George Woodside thinks of this. George, do you believe in UFOs?
Good morning, Eamon. Yes, I do.
You haven't seen any, have you?
No, not yet. I have a question for Matt.
Yeah?
In the light of the work that he does building spacecrafts and designing them, what are his thoughts, and does he believe in UFOs?
Well, now I should be clever here, because when you say UFO, if you just mean unidentified flying object, yes, there's lots of unidentified flying objects. The secret is try and identify them. Now, I think that whoever works out the figures, about 95% you can actually work out their weather balloons, their Mars, their Venus, there are some things floating in the back of the eye even. It leaves about 5% that are unidentified, but it doesn't necessarily mean perhaps that they're actually of alien origin. Can I keep an open mind on that, please?
Might be Richard Branson.
They probably are Richard Branson.
So, George, you've very definitely got an open mind on this.
Yes, I have.
Right, okay. Good hearing from you. Thanks very much for the call. William Schick from London. Hello, William. Hi, William. William is not there. He's been taken off by flying saucer, obviously. We're still waiting for you, Dolores Hallis. Get on the line. We're still waiting for you. Anna Cesagaro, who's phoned in from Hereford. Sylvester wants to know, how big is the inside of the TARDIS? Well, I can answer that. I've been in it. I've been there, yes.
Well, you're not going to give away the secret. It's enormous, enormous. It's as big as your imagination.
Probably bigger.
What can I say?
It's a pretty good answer. Right, so much for that. Stuart Flanagan, another call from Northern Ireland, from Belfast this time. Hello, Stuart.
I've been a Doctor Who fan for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I think Sylvester plays the part superbly. And down the years, Matt's effects have been great too. I'd like to ask Sylvester, are the rumours that Doctor Who will end after the next season true? And if they're not, how long do you feel the programme can last?
Well, I don't know which camera you're on. There you are. You're on that camera there. Would you stay in the same place in your room, please? Moving around. How long will it last? Well, that's a mystery that nobody knows about, really. You have to bug the planning office at the BBC. I would imagine, having tried to kill it off once and then been threatened with death themselves, perhaps the BBC might not do it again, but you never know. I don't know how long it's going to last. I've been asked to do another series next year, which I shall do, and then we'll wait and see. But then again, even that might not happen. Who knows? And I don't.
Stuart, interesting thing here which you mightn't know. You may be able to detect from his accent, which could be a hodgepodge of a number of things, but you claim to be Scottish, don't you?
Well, no, I claim to be an Anglo-Irish Scot. I was born in Scotland. My mother was Irish, my father was English. I lived in Dublin.
In short, Stuart, his grandmother was from Lurgan, so there you are.
I used to live in Lurgan quite regularly.
There you are.
I thought it was a Scottish takeover, this programme, because of course I'm a Scottish Couper, not an English Couper, and I thought, well, the Scots are there as well. So it's not true, the Irish are still winning.
Well, not necessarily so.
We will now transport to Liverpool, where life as we know it exists in the form of Mike Schaff. Hi there, Mike.
More applause from the background. You can hear it.
How did I do it, Mike?
They keep doing this to you, don't they? Listen, we have
the way
some
I
friends.
tell them.
I know. We have some friends here with us. First of all, Marion, tell me, what is so special about science fiction?
I think really it's optimism for the future. Makes us think about we've got a future to go to, and makes us think about the consequences of what we're getting up to on the planet.
Do you just look at it on telly, or do you read books about it as well?
I read some books as well, yes. There's general media, Star Trek, Doctor Who, that sort of thing.
And do you think television does a good job with science fiction?
In general, yeah, as long as it doesn't try and outbeat the blockbusters like Star Wars, if it concentrates on the story, then yes, it can do a very good job.
Right. Now, we're in Liverpool at the Britannia Adelphi Hotel, and it's a huge, what do you call it? Convention?
It's a convention,
It's a convention all about Star Trek.
Well, it is mainly about Star Trek, but we have got other interests. It's just a gathering of fans, really, who've got a common interest. They like to get together, talk to each other, meet people from the films, from the series.
Now, going on in the background is a sort of a seminar. Who's on the table at the moment? George is up there.
We have George Takei on the table, yes, who people know as Mr. Sulu from Star Trek. We also have Richard Arnold, who is the archivist, Star Trek archivist from Paramount Studios, and Guy Vardaman, who's an actor in the new Star Trek The Next Generation. We also, to cater for the general science fiction fans, we have Terry Pratchett, very well-known author who writes the Discworld books.
And in one word, has it been a success this weekend?
It's been a great success.
Absolutely. Right. Sue, tell me, you're a big fan of Star Trek. Why Star Trek? What's special about it?
Well, it's all science fiction in general, but Star Trek, because it's got so many layers, you see. There's not just the surface of it, which is the action-adventure, obviously. Then under that, if you look a bit more deeply into each episode, there's a morality tale there. In the Next Generation as well.
You are upset that sometimes the media tend to treat you Trekkers as nothing more than kids who like dressing up, aren't you?
Yes, I think we dislike being patronised because we are intelligent people. We're not overgrown children. Star Trek's never been a child's programme. Look round here, see how many children you can see. A handful. It's all adults and teenagers to people in their 70s.
Okay, and this gentleman here now is John. John, you have a question, have you not?
Yes, I have a question. What do you think of the possibility of the today's shuttles actually evolving into the starships and others that we see on the TV and the film series?
Well, maybe we can put that question back to Matt or maybe even Heather.
Mike, actually, before we answer that, what is that man dressed in?
I wasn't going to mention it. This.
I thought you said. Right, go on, go on.
Let me get this right. This is.
That's a Klingon uniform.
No, it's not. You see, you don't know. It's the Next Generation, Eamon.
Oh,
honestly,
it's the Admiral's uniform from the Next Generation.
Now that's the new series of Star Trek, the Next Generation, and this is the new one. And this is actually the communicator, isn't it? He just goes, you know, beam me up, Mr. Becker or whoever.
Decker.
Eamon.
Tell you, they won't let you on board the ship until you get that haircut. I'll tell you that for a start. What was the question, Mike?
Do you think that we could probably evolve into the sort of space travel, the shuttles of today coming like, you know, the Star Trek of the films? Heather.
You'd have to have something a bit more ambitious than the shuttle. You'd have to, for example, have a different kind of propulsion system if you're going to get to the stars on time. For instance, if you decide to drive to the nearest star at the kind of speed you go in a car without beating the speed limit, it would take you a staggering something like 48 million years. So you need to have a propulsion system which will make things go really, really quickly. Now, there are guys like Bob Ford who work out of America who are actually designing starships with kind of fusion reactor propulsion and stuff like that. But they're very, very much on the drawing board. But knowing how quickly things go in space, I think that it might happen next century.
Matt, as a designer, what do you think of the sort of designs that are put forward in movies like Star Trek?
Well, as an effects designer, you look at the Star Trek and you think, wish I had the budget to do that sort of thing. It's not to say that it can't be done on the small screen, I think as somebody pointed out earlier. Going back to the business regarding the shuttle as such, I mean, we know the shuttle's got problems, has had the very serious problems. The launch was delayed only a couple of days ago, I think for probably a relatively minor problem, but they're very, very, very concerned about there's so much that can possibly go wrong. And the shuttle is very, very crude when we compare it with, let us say, the USS Enterprise as Star Trek goes. But we've got to get there sometime, rather.
Yeah, here.
Right, Mike?
Yes, thank you very much, Eamon. And Sue, you have a question for our Doctor Who guest.
Yes, indeed. Sylvester, what direction would you like Doctor Who to take in the future? Assuming, of course, that it does last.
Yes, Sue, what direction? I'd like it to have more time and more money. My bank manager would like it to have more time and more money. I don't know, really. A bit of the same, a bit of something different. Another 25 years, but perhaps not with me in the helm, I should think.
I'm still waiting for Dolores Hallis to phone back and tell me where she spotted this UFO. Anyone else who spotted 10618140424? None of our trekkers seen one then, Mike, no?
Do you believe in UFOs?
I'm a bit like Matt. I keep an open mind about it. I haven't actually seen anything, so I can't believe or disbelieve.
How about you, Miriam?
Well, again, I don't disbelieve them. I've never seen one myself, but I can't believe we're the only sentient life form in the universe.
Okay, let's leave it there, Mike. I want to take a few more calls. Thanks very much indeed for that. Let's go to Hamilton in Scotland. Drew Brown's on the line. Hello, Drew.
Good morning, Eamon.
Hi, Drew. What's your question?
I've got a question for Heather.
Yeah.
Good morning, Heather.
Hello there, Drew.
Yes. If there is intelligent life out there, and I do believe there is, why should it visit us?
Absolutely. Why should it visit us at all? I don't see why it should, because quite honestly, why should it want to come and have a look at people like ourselves? No, seriously, if there is intelligent life out there, and I do believe there is, it could take a long time. I talked about starships and travelling to the stars a few moments ago. And even if you were travelling at the speed limit of the universe, that's to say almost at the speed of light, it would still take you a heck of a long time to get from even the nearest star to us. It's 4 light years away, so it takes 4 years to go from A to B. But there is something a bit more disturbing, and I find it's this, that at the moment we're in a position where in the next century or so we'll be able to make starships which can go to planetary systems around other stars. Then there'll be a robot command which will tell those spaceships to break up into a whole family of children's spaceships. Those children spaceships will then go out to other stars and look at their planetary systems and look at them and recce them, and then once again you have more children going out. So in principle, in just a few million years, a civilization like our own could actually fan out through our galaxy. Now, our galaxy's been in existence for something like 15 billion years, and in that case, where are the starships? Why hasn't any other civilization done exactly as we're talking about now and populated our entire solar system with alien starships? We don't see any. And I'm afraid some people are taking this as evidence there isn't life out there in the universe. Otherwise, it would have come and found us. So, I don't know. If it's out there, come and see us, please, and put us out of our misery. Otherwise, we'll have to carry on doing television programmes like this.
Well, maybe they don't come, though, because of the sci-fi programmes. Maybe they've been watching our television and films and think as soon as they arrive, someone's got a gun out and shoot them.
Well, seriously,
well,
it's true.
Let me ask you this. Marcus McCollum has phoned in and wants to know, I don't even know what this is, do you believe in the parallel universe? What is the parallel universe?
It's parallel.
It's happening
we got
simultaneously?
Yeah.
Does anyone at the Trekkie conference there, Mike, know what the parallel universe is?
Well, honestly, Eamon, honestly, I mean, even I know that. Basically, that we believe there is a minus and a plus, and we'll assume that we're the plus, and somewhere out there, there is one of these exactly the same, and there's a presenter called Mike Shaft stood with 4 people like this, asking questions just like this. It all goes on at the same time.
Does that mean there's an evil one and a good one?
Absolutely. The theory is that if we came together, as has happened in Star Trek, that's the end of it. If they meet.
I used to read those in the Superman comics. They used to be
not
in the
necessarily.
No, that is one possibility. Or then again, another theory, science fiction-wise, there are layers of these parallel universes, like the leaves in the book.
Right.
All existing simultaneously in slightly different dimensions.
You had another question, didn't you, about something we were just talking about then?
Yes, it goes back to the question of UFOs. Okay, with all these millions of possible other planets, assuming some other race has solved the star travel problem, what's so special about this planet that they should choose to visit us when they've got so many others to choose from? Why are we so marvellous?
As I come from supposedly Gallifrey, or my character comes from Gallifrey, I would think that if there was an intelligent life force anywhere, it would desperately want to find out who we are. I mean, just being curious. Otherwise, if it's not, it can't be that, I don't think it's that intelligent.
Right, I'm curious to hear what Connie Cox wants to know. Hello, Connie.
Hello there.
Hi, Connie, how are you?
I'd like to speak to Heather. I'm fine, thank you.
Good, good.
Heather, in 1936 I saw a film called Things to Come, and they had planes going over with nobody in them, and I just sat with my boyfriend, who's my husband now, laughing and said, ridiculous, waste of time coming here. And yet, during the war, we had to do the bugs flying, so I had to eat my words, very sadly. And now, I'd like to ask you, do you feel that people do get a glimpse to the future, such as yourself, and realise that there is more to life than we take on this earth?
I'm not conventionally religious, if that's what you're asking me, but I'm saying that I do believe that we are a very, very small cog in a very large wheel. This is me speaking personally. I'm not speaking as someone who studied science. I do believe there are other civilizations out there. I believe it's only a matter of time before one of these civilizations contacts us. And if that happens, it's going to be pretty amazing, because when you think about it, essentially to begin with, we all on Earth think, gosh, we're very much united against whatever that extra force might bring in. So it'll do wonders to actually unite humankind and all the other life on this planet. So yes, if you're looking for something further, I do think it's going to bring tremendous unity when it does happen.
You haven't seen any UFOs, Connie, have you?
Beckham?
You haven't seen any UFOs, have you?
No, but I'm a great believer that's called possibilities.
Well, if you know Dolores Hallis, will you get on the phone and ask her to give me a ring, because I'm still waiting for her, Matt.
Yes, going back to what Heather was saying, I mean, and perhaps touching on the UFO thing slightly, I think, actually, if you think logically about it, it will be far stranger if we were the only people, if the Earth was the only place that had, I would say intelligent life, you can sort of take that which way you want, on it. And there was everything else, which we do know exists, as far as it looks similar. I mean, and star systems which presumably have planetary systems, as Heather has been saying. So therefore, it'd be very odd if we were the only ones. Even odder than to have everybody approach us.
If we were an Orion, it would make it very odd, because we'd then be the only civilization in the universe, and think of the responsibility that would confer upon us to look after this little planet on its own.
I'm just thinking about poor old Sylvester here. I bet you never even thought about all these things until you became Doctor Who, and everyone now expects you to be an expert on what happens out there in the
Yes, I mean, I
galaxy.
consider my job, I'm an actor, I learn my lines and try not to bump into the monsters. Suddenly I've asked all these kind of deep things about outer space, and we've only been spaced out a few times. I really don't know the answers quite a lot of the times.
Here is a quick point. Mr. R.G. Blay has phoned in and wants to know if you still have the sonic screwdriver and if you intend using it again.
Well, yes, I have a sonic screwdriver. Well, I lent it to the neighbour and they haven't given it back to me. No, I don't have it, I'm sorry. The reason why it went, I've found out. I didn't even know what a sonic screwdriver was for a while. But the reason why it went was that the writers used to use it as an excuse to get out of the cliffhanger or the problem. You know, they say, oh, he whips out his sonic screwdriver and does something and they get out of it. So now that's why it's gone.
Sylvester, Heather and Matt, thanks very much indeed for the conversation this morning, and thanks to all our trekkers who were with Mike in Liverpool. I'm still looking for Dolores Hallis. Maybe she's phoned Natalie. Natalie?
That's right, Eamon. Fans, both young and old, have been ringing in about both Doctor Who and Star Trek. John Darrow from Birmingham sums up their calls by saying, "We live in a terrible world, but the programme gives children something to hang on to. It's great. I love it, and so do my grandchildren." Calls coming in not just from Doctor Who fans, but from fans of Blake 7, who all want it back. Well, there have been rumours that it will be returning in the Dev 2 slot, but Janet Street Porter says there are no plans at present to bring it back definitely. And calls still coming in about the Justice game. People want to know, is the music available on record? It is indeed. I've just been beamed the information. It's called Sparkle in the Rain by Simple Minds. And also, people want to know, when is Ferry Across the Mersey going to be released? It's Monday, the 8th of May. Eamon.
Tomorrow, Sandy Gall will be here talking about his life as a newsreader and more recently as a reporter in the Afghanistan war. We'll also be trying out some of the wacky racing machines used in ITV's Run the Gauntlet, which returns to the screen this afternoon. Presenter Ross Davidson, producer Julian Grant will be here and demonstrating some of those bizarre modes of transport. And finally, do you bear a striking resemblance to a famous celebrity or even an open-air presenter? Well, if so, we want to hear from you. 61-814-0424. Until then, take us home, Mr. Sulu. Bye-bye.